welcome to Good Morning Enablement. I'm your host today, Maria White, and today we're going to be diving into one of the most important but often overlooked aspects of your sales kickoff, and that is aligning your sales kickoff content with real business goals. This is another one of the episodes in the content strategy and planning of a sales kickoff. And I'm going to walk you through how you can think about aligning your sales kickoff content with real business goals. And of course, why this matters. So let's think about it like this. Every year, companies spend a fortune on their sales kickoffs. And I'm serious, depending on the size of the organization, as I've managed, so many, probably 50 plus, maybe more. The budget can range from $1 million, $500,000 to one of the largest ones, 10 million plus. So this is a lot of money that organizations are investing in their sellers and in their organizations' financial growth. There's travel, there's production, there are speakers. It's a serious investment. But there is an uncomfortable truth. If the content doesn't align with your company's strategies and priorities, then that money is just hype and has no horsepower. Sales behavior won't change, pipeline and revenue may not grow, the messaging might not be positioned correctly. So alignment isn't optional. It's the difference between a team that's inspired and effective and one that's just entertained and has a beautiful jolly for 2 or 3 days in a nice location with a nice rooms and great food. Well, sometimes not great food, but what does alignment look like? So real alignment, it means that your sales kickoff content is directly tied to your top business objectives. So for example, if your company goal is to break into a new market, your sales kickoff should feature content on the new ICPs, the messaging that resonates, and the competitive positioning. Another example, if the goal is to expand your current accounts, your content should focus on cross-selling motions, upsell motions, account-based plays, and value selling. If you're rolling out a new product, then your sales kickoff must educate and enable your sellers to confidently talk about it, demo it, and position it correctly. A lot of times in our world, in sales enablement and selling, if you will, if a seller isn't confident in positioning the new product or talking about the new messaging, they will avoid it. They will stick to what they know that is going to help them meet their revenue goals. So when I'm just going to stress, if you're going to roll out a new product, then you must educate and enable your sellers on how to feel confident, to talk about it and understand the why and to position it correctly. And you know what? Every slide, every breakout, every panel should have a clear connective thread that weaves itself through the event to connect it to one of your company's strategic goals, the one that you want the outcome from. There are often, some common missteps. I've seen this. As I've said, I've been accountable for all kinds of sales kickoffs across large organizations, HPE, like a 10,000 person one, for example, Cornerstone on Demand, more like a 2,000 person one. But there are common missteps that I've seen over the years, over the last, 14 years. And let's just talk about what not to do. It's a hard topic, but let's address it. Here are a few missteps that just break alignment really fast. Cool, but not random content. So let's give them something really, really great, really cool. Just because it's trendy doesn't mean it's going to serve your sales team or align with one of those goals. That's a common misstep. Another one is, oh, hey, it's okay. We'll use this training and we'll train whoever attends a sales kickoff in the GTM group. So we'll train BDRs on it. We'll train commercial, mid-market, enterprise. We'll train sales leaders. We'll train customer success. We'll train pre-sales. Guess what? One size of messaging and training does not necessarily suit or is relevant for the different, roles that are talking to your customers. So different segments, it could be industry, it could be persona based, it could be size of organization, it could be product application. But all of these different segments need to be different stories. It needs to be relevant and aligned. And another one is, don't get me wrong, I'm all about a bit of inspiration, but too much inspiration in a sales kickoff and not enough application, guess what? Motivation's going to fade, but clarity and relevance will stick. Give them what they need to know by making it aligned to the company's goal, help them to understand it with confidence, and that will work out. So just to recap, those are some of the mishaps, the three I've just mentioned. The best sales kickoffs combine vision with execution, building a cohesive thread through the content that ties back to the business's goal, the strategic goals of the organization for that year. The vision and execution have to inspire, but also to equip. So I've told you why, I've kind of shared with you the why it's good to have that alignment and some of the mishaps. But how do you actually make sure it happens? It's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to make sure it gets executed. So what can you do to actually make sure your sales kickoff content is aligned? Well, good news. I have a 4-step process that I think is really going to help you if you apply it in your endeavors for your sales kickoff. Number 1, start with the business goals. So how do you do that? It's one thing to say, but how do you execute on that? Well, you have to meet with the leadership. You probably want to set up an executive steer code to make sure that, it's all in order across the various stakeholders that you need. But meet with the leadership and understand what the top 3 outcomes they need in the business to be successful in the year of the SKO that you're doing it. And then once you ascertain that and you understand that, you then need to map those to sales behaviors. I know it sounds strange. What are the 3 business outcomes they need? It could be, customer retention. It could be increased revenue by X%. It could be drive a new product line. Well, guess what? Though, if those 3 outcomes, mostly they're focused on sales, so we need to map to those sales behaviors. What should reps be doing differently in their behavior with customers to help them achieve those goals? If it's customer retention, then maybe you need to have, content that aligns customer success, pre-sales and sales so that, customers don't end up having, shelfware as software and not implementing it and getting the value from it so it stays with them. Or it could be, there's a new product messaging and it should be, tight, concise, and you should get confidence in the reps to be able to pitch that. And also as well, design your content around those actions. So your sales kickoff sessions should teach, reinforce, and practice the behaviors that you're looking for your reps to do when they're back on their everyday. And one thing that people don't tend to do a lot, I've been doing it probably for 10 years with my teams when we've been building sales kickoffs, is you really do need to pressure test everything. So it's no good going to sales kickoff with some brand new content that hasn't been bought in by the sellers and the leaders and that hasn't been stress tested. And what I mean by that is, you need to have some sellers hear your content, get involved in the content and say, yes, this is correct, this is good, this is how it's going to work, or your product teams, so that pressure test it. Ask of each session when you're pressure testing it, how does this content help us hit our goals? You know what? If it doesn't reach that outcome, remove the content or adjust it so that it does. Don't give up that valuable, everyone in the same room, virtually or in person. Don't give up that valid, where reps are learning from each other time to content that's not going to resonate or move the dial. So you can also think about, if there are leaders, product managers, CROs, etc., listening, it's often enablement is often brought in too late into some of the decisions when it comes to the new product messages and how it's going to resonate with the field. Please, if there's new product releases or, product that's going to be different, bring enablement in early. The people that you rely on to train the sellers to sell better, to sell stronger, to be competent, bring them in early when it comes to new product messaging so that we can help work in partnership with product marketing, product management, etc., and sellers to make sure that you have the right training given to the field. And one quick little tip for you: if you do bring enablement early, they're also really good. We're really good at bridging the gap between strategy and execution. We know how to turn goals into action and content into outcomes, because that's what we do for a living. We do it every day for your organizations by building content to empower your sales to sell better. Too often content is built in silos. So one individual saying, this is the message we need for sales. They build it in isolation, and then they try to train the sellers in isolation. Whereas if they just partnered with the enablement business partner and bought enablement in earlier, you would have a better approach for that outcome in ensuring it is delivered and repeated, and you can measure the results. So enablement can ensure consistency, clarity, and connection across the board, not just with the internal stakeholders, but making it resonate with the field. Now, here's some final takeaways. Remember, this is all about aligning strategic goals to your sales kickoff event, one of the biggest investments in a company's, budget every year. I'm absolutely certain about that when it comes to education. So let's wrap this up with 3 things to remember as you're in the planning mode or refining your SKO content. If it's not aligned to a business goal, it probably isn't worth the time to the field. Content should drive behavior change, not just awareness. And Sales Kickoff is not just an event. I've never seen it as an event. It's the launchpad for the year's revenue engine, setting up the sellers and the GTM team for success by reinforcing all of that critical content that you're delivering to them at the beginning of your sales year. Align your content, and your teams will walk out not just motivated, but they will be successful, and they will be ready to execute for you and your organization, bringing them success and the organization as a whole. Thank you for tuning in to another Good Morning Enablement episode. If this helped you rethink how you're planning your sales kickoff, share it with your team, your enablement leader, or someone who's owning the agenda this year. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, invite new people, share the videos for some more sharp takes on smart sales and how to have a memorable and impactful sales kickoff. Until next time, plan with purpose and sell with confidence. And if you would like help with anything to do with your sales kickoff events now or in the future, please reach out to my team at hello@enablementdojo.com. Until next time, thanks.